Her name is Vanessa. For years I thought I knew her. Married for 6 years, sharing a home, a life, and countless routines. But sometimes the truth hides in plain sight, waiting for the moment someone drops the mask. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. Vanessa had been distant, colder than usual, her touches rare and fleeting. I chalked it up to stress, work pressure, exhaustion. I tried to be patient. I tried to give her space. I tried everything I could think of to bring back the intimacy we once had. Then came the confession. A late evening, the house quiet except for the hum of the fridge. I had just returned from work, weary but expecting nothing unusual. She sat on the couch, a faint tremor in her hands, staring at the floor. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I sat down beside her, heart racing, instincts telling me this wasn't ordinary. She looked at me finally, eyes glistening. "I regret every day with you," she said. The words hit harder than anything I could have imagined. Regret. With me. After all these years, all these shared moments. I didn't respond immediately. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Was this anger? A phase? A manipulation? Then she said it, the admission that would shift everything. I opened our marriage," she confessed, voice trembling. I froze. I stared at her, processing. Opened our marriage? She didn't want freedom for herself. She wanted something beyond us, beyond what I thought was a committed, exclusive bond. My thoughts went to every moment of distance, every subtle lie, every excuse I had accepted. It all fell into place. For a moment I felt fury, betrayal, pain so deep it felt like it would suffocate me. But then I realized something crucial. Anger wasn't the path forward. Control, clarity, and calm were my tools now. She had assumed my reaction would be desperate, emotional, pleading. She had assumed I would beg her to stay, argue for reconciliation, or crumble under the weight of shame. I didn't. Instead, I let the weight of the confession settle. My eyes held hers steadily, unflinching, calm yet piercing. I didn't interrupt, I didn't speak, I didn't argue. I simply let the moment exist, letting her see that her words had consequences, and that I wasn't a man to be manipulated by guilt or games. She shifted in her seat, suddenly aware that her usual tactics, excuses, charm, tears, would not sway me tonight. Vanessa tried to explain, fumbling over words, voice quivering. "It wasn't about you. It's complicated. I didn't mean to hurt you." I listened, calm, letting her words hang in the air. Every excuse, every attempt at justification, only highlighted her miscalculation. She assumed I would react emotionally, but I didn't. I had learned that in situations like this, reaction gives the other person power. I wasn't giving her that. She looked at me, pleading silently, searching for a crack in my composure. There was none. My face remained neutral, my posture relaxed, my gaze steady. I wanted her to understand that her confession, though honest, didn't give her control. I wasn't going to beg, plead, or grovel. "You opened our marriage," I repeated, voice calm, deliberate. "And yet you think this confession changes anything?" Her shoulders slumped slightly. She hadn't expected the calm. She had expected chaos, anger, tears, proof that she still held influence over me. Instead, she found quiet, a stillness that spoke louder than any argument. I continued, softly but firmly. "You wanted to live freely without boundaries. Fine. But do not mistake honesty now for forgiveness, or manipulation for control. This changes everything." Her face paled, the realization finally sinking in. She had assumed her guilt would grant her leverage. Instead, it exposed her. She had gambled, and the cards didn't fall in her favor. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I didn't cry. I simply looked at her and let her feel the weight of reality. The intimacy we once shared, the trust we built, the life we had. It had all been breached. And now she had to live with that knowledge. Her hands trembled slightly, a mix of fear and regret. I knew she understood that her games, her choices, and her betrayals could not be undone with words alone. The balance of power had shifted. I was no longer the man she could manipulate with charm or remorse. Then I leaned back slightly, keeping my voice steady. "We will need to decide what comes next. Not because of me, not because of your guilt, but because of reality. This is the life you chose, Vanessa. Not the one I thought we had together." For the first time, she looked truly uncertain. The mask of control she wore so confidently had slipped. I could see the fear in her eyes, the understanding that some boundaries once crossed could not simply be repaired with excuses or promises. Vanessa's lips pressed together tightly, a subtle quiver betraying her attempt to regain composure. She had expected a reaction, anger, begging, pleading, but none of that came. She realized finally that I was no longer the man she could manipulate with words alone. Her eyes darted away, then back, searching for something. An apology, an argument, a sign of weakness. I gave nothing. My calmness was deliberate. A silent statement that the balance of power had shifted. She had crossed a line and she knew it. I continued, voice steady, measured. Vanessa, understand this clearly. The choices you made, the boundaries you broke, they have consequences. We cannot simply pretend this didn't happen. She swallowed, a small hitch in her breath betraying the tension she tried to hide. She had thought honesty would erase the damage, but it didn't. Actions speak louder than confessions, and hers had spoken volumes. I could see the regret in her eyes. Not the performative kind, the kind that is said to soothe someone else's pain. This was real. Deep, unsettling regret. She had opened our marriage, not just emotionally but physically, and now faced the reality of what that meant. The silence stretched between us, heavy and deliberate. I wasn't rushing to speak. I wasn't trying to provoke guilt or elicit tears. I let her feel the weight of her decisions, the discomfort of knowing she had shattered what we once had. Finally, she whispered, voice trembling. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I shook my head slowly. Intent doesn't erase choice. Regret doesn't repair trust. And honesty now doesn't undo the past. Her eyes filled with tears and I didn't move. I didn't offer comfort or excuses. This was the moment she had to face herself and the consequences of her actions. Then I stood, giving her space, keeping my demeanor calm but resolute. We will decide what comes next, Vanessa. Not out of emotion, not out of anger, but out of truth. And right now the truth is clear. She nodded slowly, finally accepting that the dynamic had changed. I wasn't the same man she had assumed she could control. She had gambled on manipulation and secrecy, and now she would have to face the reality she created. As I walked away, I felt a quiet sense of clarity and control. Betrayal can cut deep, but calm, deliberate action carries far more weight than anger. Vanessa had learned, perhaps too late, that some boundaries, once broken, cannot simply be restored. And in that realization, the balance had shifted permanently.